Okay, good afternoon and welcome to The Real Me, Chapter 26. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a side room to give this shiur, so I'm in the base medrash here between Mincha and Marav. There's a little bit of disturbance of background noise and a visual disturbance of these pipes above my head, which are the new central air conditioning system installed, but not yet installed to the ceiling. Chapter 26 talks about modesty. It's primarily geared for women. Tzniyus in Hebrew. The mitzvah of Tzniyus is very important for women, also for men, people like to say, but it's more important for women. As the Vilna Gaon says, he quotes the Vilna Gaon in the chapter, he says what Talmud Torah is for men, Tzniyus is for women. Obviously we know the importance of Limud Torah for men, and the importance that people give to it, maybe more than they should. Tzniyus, likewise, maybe people will give more attention to it than they should. He says there's a common misconception. He says the mitzvah of Tzniyus is essential in the life of a woman. This is how he opens the chapter. For some reason, it has become corrupted and so misunderstood. There are women who don't even want to hear about this topic, and rightfully so. Right? People, if you're familiar with the intricacies of the Haredi community and you're part of it and are newly exposed to it, you realize how harped upon it is for women, how much they have to be so careful not to expose any parts of their body. The more parts of the body they cover, the more chumras they take upon themselves, even if you don't halachically have to cover a certain part of their body, for example, from the elbows down or from the knees down, or part of the collarbone, neckline. There's a lot of chumras that go into these things, and they're praised in various halachas, save halachas sefarim, which talk about halachas of Tzniyus, of what parts to be covered. If you take extra stringency on yourself, it means you're a firmer or better lady. People, recommend doing certain things to make yourself less attractive. You're not allowed to have any designs on the top of your shirt that are close to the breast or things like that promote attraction over there. People to look at it, talk about if the neckline of the shirt is too low, even though technically halakhically it would be okay, about tying knots around the neckline or something like that, or sewing buttons together. There's different chumras over here. If you're part of the Haredi community, in certain communities they even recommend things which are clearly not part of the halacha. Women who are not married have to put their hair in a ponytail. Apparently makes them less attractive. Some Hasidic ladies have to put a double covering on their head. They put a sheitel, and they have to it looks like a sheitel. They have to put, it looks like a yarmulke on top of the sheitel. Duli. And there's various other chumras, here in Israel about sitting together on a bus. Men should be in the front of the bus, the women in the back of the bus. There's no women's pictures are not allowed in magazines or in Jewish media or anything. Because, the reason being is because women causing men to stumble, and actually when men tend to like to look at women, attractive women, and if they look at them, and they might have the wrong thoughts, it'll disturb their kavanah and Torah and tefillah. They'll be thinking about them at the wrong time, or even worse, it can bring them to masturbation or things like that, or that's the worst case, or just to see something improper would be an avera. And we're not here to talk about all the halachas over here. He says setting up the topic of personal modesty in a limited area that just involves restricting certain modes of dress gives one to think the best thing for a lady is to neglect her appearance and wear ugly clothing. So a lot of people think, right? There recently has emerged in Israel a group of ladies that cover themselves completely in burqas, go around looking like walking tents. And Meah Sharim is very prevalent to see these women completely cover themselves. This is contrary, the author says, to the natural personality of a lady. A woman's nature is to make herself pretty. And the Gemara in Ksuvos 59b, it's clear that there's a need for hers that cannot be ignored. It says, Eina Isha Liofi, the main reason a woman is created is for beauty. The Gemara in Ksuvos, one will argue, this is very important what he says over here, one will argue and say that she may adorn herself only at home for her husband, which I've heard a lot of contemporary poskim say, and contemporary people that give advice to Chassanim say, yes, dress up nice and kalas, dress nice in your house. When you go outside, look like a shlump, wear the snood. There is a clear Gemara that proves otherwise. The Gemara in Ksuvos 65a, we just did it in Daf Yomi, relates to the wife of Rav Yosef, came to the base, I think it was Abaye, came to the base and requesting the right to use her late husband's money for silk clothing. Or maybe this was Yosef something else. Diane asked her, "What do you need such expensive clothing?" She answered, "Said I should not lose my former dignity. I wish to appear before you and your peers like before my husband died." It says, your friends and your friends' friends, I have to appear good. Right? It even says Abaye's wife came in front of Beis in the Gemara right before that, and she picked up her arm, not on purpose, but she revealed part of her arm. Seems to indicate that it's okay to have it exactly at your elbow, and if it goes up a little bit, it's okay. We don't assume Abaye's wife was violating the halachas of Tzniyus, and Rava saw her arm, and he wanted to be together with someone. She ran home to be together with his wife. His wife found out about this. She ran after by his wife. She was trying to kill her. She was very upset with her. She dressed obviously in an attractive way. And then he writes, this isn't meant to condone elaborate adornment in public. See the Orchos Yosher by Rim Chaim Kanievsky, who writes sharp words about that. So he's, most modern day posts can write very severe things. There's a sefer called Oz V'Hada Lavusha, which talks extensively, not just about extra chumras and Tzniyus dressing, and also in terms of that's basically chumras in terms of dressing, and also the musar about how terrible a thing it is. The author says, right, Tzniyus is obvious that we've heard this before, is not just about dress, it's also about, your overall approach to everything you do in life. Modesty, right? Modesty applies to men also, to do something in a modest fashion. So the answer, he says, how do you answer the fact that contemporary contemporary Haredi culture, says women is better, women shouldn't appear, should appear as infrequently as possible in public, and not as not dressed as well as possible in public. Basically to avoid the gaze of men. Avoids looking good in the eyes of a man in public, only for your husband. And these Gemaras, which seem to indicate that a woman is meant for beauty, they would go to Beis Din, they go in public, they would dress nicely, they would wear makeup, presumably. The Gemara in Kesubos also says, only during Avelis, or you're Avelis, the husband's Avelis for his parents, or the wife's Avelis, then he can force her in his presence not to put her makeup. Otherwise, she's always putting on makeup. So his answer to the seeming contradiction, he said, it is decidedly best to dress in a way that is dignified and pleasant, and simultaneously to keep one's nobility and conservative. Tzniyus is not meant to deny one's appearance, but to honor it. Right? Instead, it's to enhance your appearance. Actually, when a lady or a girl is so strict about her modest appearance, she is guarding her dignity, and if she clearly dresses to attract attention, she is presenting herself as a doll on display. One insight must be added. The reality shows that in many cases, desire to dress inappropriately is prevalent amongst women and girls that are lacking self-esteem or needy of emotional support. They try to make up for their lack by wearing loud clothing so they'll be noticed and will feel valued, since others are being made aware of their existence. So the two issues are intertwined, the author says. One is happy with herself. One who is happy with herself dresses modestly because she feels complete and fulfilled. She doesn't need to advertise herself. One who is not happy and feels inferior needs to find value through external measures. This is what defines the need to be conspicuous. And therefore, he ends off on a strong note. It is a responsibility of the head of the household, meaning her husband, who wishes to implant in the father, implant in the home strong foundation of Tzniyus, and bestow on his spouse the emotional support and necessary attention she deserves. Give her attention. Tell her how beautiful she is. Then she won't need to seek it from outside sources. She goes out. She won't dress as fancy. Dealing with the root of the problem helps much more than harping on the severity of the prohibition, and to talk about it ad infinitum, like on these Sfarim do. He says that's the wrong approach. The right approach is that he seemingly basically says that the husband and the father should give importance to his daughters, to his wife, and tell them how beautiful they are. So they shouldn't need to go out in public and advertise their beauty. I have a little bit of a different approach. I do agree with this. What he's saying is that Tzniyus is not just, right, obviously Tzniyus is a midah, it's modesty, applies to men also. Presumably it applies most to dress, and the reason it applies to dress so much because I'm going to talk both for a man and for a woman. I believe sincerely that you should dress your best. Whether you're a man or a woman, you should always dress your best. And the way you dress your best is when you look good, you're most attractive to the other gender. That's just the way it is, right? A man who dresses well. So, what does it mean to dress well? How do you know if you dress well? Women are attracted to you by your dress. Women generally prefer an average-looking man who dresses nicely to a very good-looking man who dresses poorly. Dress really adds a lot to the person. And if you dress the way women find attractive, that means you dress well. And women who dress the way men find them attractive dress well. It enhances their appearance. I think this is elementary. Most people don't understand. It's very hard for a man to do this because he can only see himself. He only sees what other men wear. He can't see how a woman would look at him, and a lady can't see how a man would look at her. They have general ideas based on, the media and what the world portrays, but it's not really 100% accurate. I had to learn how to dress. I never learned that. I never cared about how I dressed for many years. I had to learn to dress. And Tzniyus modesty is really important in dress because Tzniyus is basically a minimalistic approach to dress. Meaning, usually, if you want to look attractive, both for a man and a woman, don't wear loud and flashy clothing, right? A man who dresses in loud, flashy uh, shirts and jackets and pants, you look like a fool if you dress like that. You look terrible. Um, that's why, even though I don't agree with it, but I think, Haredi culture is to wear a white shirt and black slacks or blue slacks. It's generally just a clean, minimalistic approach to dress. I don't think light blue shirts should be abrogated. Certain other things, gray pants, things should be okay. Certain polo shirts, they look nice. But a clean, minimalistic approach to fashion is the nicest fashion. Now, you want to have accessories. Accessories are not the main part of your dress. Accessories would be like a tie, even though I'm not wearing such a flashy tie. It does have a little purple in it, but I do wear nice ties. It shouldn't be jumping out at you, but they should have color. I wear teal ties. I wear turquoise ties. I wear orange ties. Those are considered ties that women find very attractive. I know this. I happen to know this because I asked my wife what she thinks, and I think people agree with this. And also your socks. Men's socks, where I have a lot of happy socks, very colorful socks. I'm not going to show it to me now, but all my socks are very colorful and bright. But you don't see them that much because they're most of the time covered by your pants and your shoes. And the same thing when it goes for a woman. If you ask a man which woman dresses nicely, I'll usually tell you the woman who dresses in the most minimalistic fashion. She doesn't wear, I don't think all women should wear black clothing all the time. Most women will like to wear black clothing because it thins them a little bit. I think to have a little color is nice in women, but they shouldn't be wearing ostentatious clothing that screams with color. I've seen women wear these fancy dresses, they wear these dresses, huge baggy dresses with, all the colors of the rainbow, and they look terrible, That's what Tzniyus is. Tzniyus modesty is to accentuate your beauty, to make yourself look more beautiful, to make your dress look more beautiful, to enhance your physical beauty, your face and your body, but to enhance it. And doing that Tzniyus in clothing means doing it in a minimalistic fashion. And accessories, women have different accessories than men. Women have jewelry as accessories. It shouldn't be ostentatious, but at the same time, it shouldn't be boring. It should be with style, with calm, with taste, grace. Grace is an unbelievable midah for a woman. Grace, chen. It says sheker, chen, behevel, yofi, but we talk about it at a different time. These are good things. Chen and yofi. That's what it says in Aisha yofi. People think. I think the whole Aisha style is what people think a woman should be, but it's unrealistic. We talk about the things that a woman does, and that she wouldn't live a normal life if she's doing other things inside an Aisha Chayil. No woman, she's a warrior, she's an Aisha Chayil, she's a woman who goes in the battlefield. We know that women are not supposed to fight in the army, even though in Israel they do draft women to the army, but it's not a woman's place, it's in the battlefield. She's not in the battlefield, she's not supposed to make herself crazy with this, right? She's staying up all night, weaving wool. I don't know, going out to poor people. It's not the way of a woman. It's a play. Mishle is a play on what people think. Sidkus is to tell you don't be such a tzaddik. That's really what it is. Chen and yofi are very important in a woman. The most important things in a woman. So if you dress minimalistically, but on your accessories, you dress with grace, not ostentatious, but with grace. Some nice colors also. It adds to them. I think that's the point of Tzniyus, of clothing, where it's most focused Tzniyus is to wear things which are bring out your beauty. I just saw this interview with Jordan Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist that often gets interviewed. I think he's worked closely with Ben Shapiro. He's a conservative personality. He made a comment on Twitter about something about lipstick, about women wearing lipstick to the office, to the workplace. He says the whole purpose of wearing lipstick is just to attract men, makeup to attract men. Why do you have to wear it? I didn't see the whole comment. I think that the gist of what he was saying is that you don't need to wear it in the workplace. What's the point of the workplace? I go to work. You have to attract other men there. That I say no. The Gemara, Ksubos, Samachan 65 says clearly that Abaye's wife and Rav Yosef's wife, two of the biggest Rabbonim, they would go dress even when they were older. They would dress with makeup and really nice. They would dress in silk clothing, really nice clothes, to accentuate their beauty. Because I heard from my friend growing up, you never know who you have to impress. You never know who to impress, right? When you're young, when you're not married, you never know who will see you and who will give you a shidduch. Who will suggest a shidduch to you that you can find your marriage, even if you are married, right? You don't know if you can get married a second time if one of you dies early, or one day hopefully there'll be mutter for bigamy. I think not bigamy. I think polygamy. I think is the answer, and the Torah's answer to normalcy. So you always have to be attractive. You always want to be attractive, not to other men. A man should be attracted to a woman. A woman should be attracted to men. You always want to be attractive, and especially when you go out in public, when you go out in public, the more people see you. The more people that see you, so you want to look more attractive to them, and just that's the way it is. That's normal people, and that's, I think, part of this week's parsha, Nisavim. It says a famous pasuk, "Haniglos lanu levasenu ad olam, anistaros Hashem Elokeinu v'haniglos lanu b'nei ad olam." Anistaros, the things that are hidden to us, we don't understand fully. I would say a lot of the 613 mitzvahs we don't understand fully. That's to Hashem. One day, Mos Mashiach, Hashem will explain it to us. However, haniglos lanu levasenu, the things that are obvious in the world, the things that are nigla, the things that are obvious in the world, the normal way of the world, is that a woman wants to dress nicely. She wants to show off her appearance, and if she has a nice face or nice body, and she wants to show it off in nice clothing, she should show it off as best as possible and wear makeup that makes her look attractive to the men. She should do that when she goes in the workplace or in the street or wherever. She should do that. It makes her feel good. It gives her importance, and it helps her in the long run. She should be wearing these things. Don't worry about what other men will see. Other men will look at that. You don't have to worry about other people. Worry about yourself first and foremost. That's the key. And obviously, if you cheapen yourself, you put too much makeup on, it doesn't look good. If you dress like a prostitute, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. You should look cheap. You're not valued. You want to dress in a way. It depends. If you're in Haredi circles, you're not going to wear things where you're violating quote unquote the halachas of Tzniyus. Now, I have what to say about even the basic halachas of Tzniyus, where the Gemara in Brachos defines certain parts of the body as the woman as erba. So the assumption is that it's usher to dress like that. But I was mentioned in my shiurim, Hilchos Kriyas Shema, that it's not the case. The Gemara just says you can't say Kriyas Shema, opposite erba. It doesn't say you can't dress exposing erba. Obviously, the whole point is that the erba is exposed. That's why you can't say Kriyas Shema in that way. Otherwise, why is the time saying Kriya Shema going to get erba? If everything's live in a Jewish community, there's no erba exposed. Everything's okay, but it depends. You have to dress the way that people are attracted to people like them in their circle. So Haredi people would be attracted to women who dress like Haredi. When you dress like Haredi women, you should dress in a way that's nice, and not exposing parts of your body that shouldn't be that, according to Haredi poskim, shouldn't be exposed. It depends if you're living in a different type of community where the general way of the world is to dress, with less clothing, especially during the summer. I'm not advocating going against accepted halacha, but I'm saying even if you dress and you don't cover all the parts of your body that maybe you should, like your hair and things like that, you should do it. You should look good. You should look in a way that's attractive to the other gender. That's really the point of dressing, of Tzniyus. Niglos lanu levanenu ad olam, that these are obvious things, just the way of the world. Don't be different than the way of the world. Go with nature. Go with the natural way of the world. The natural way of the world is that men are attracted to women are attracted to men. and they do whatever they can to be more attractive to them, not to cheapen themselves, but to enhance their beauty, their physical beauty. And it's so much more prevalent by women because, in Seinfeld, I think there was a discussion between Jerry and Elaine. Um, how many men are considered attractive? How many men would you say are attractive? What percentage of men are actually physically attractive? Um, I think she said like 4%. But women 25%. I would say about 50% of women are attractive. I would say about 10% of men are attractive, physically attractive. But again, even if you're not physically attractive, you can make up for it with dressing good. And if you are physically attractive, you can enhance it with dressing nicely. So I think Tzniyus, of course, we talk about so much by modesty, by clothing, because that's really where the Mida is so important. This character trait is so important because it enhances your appearance. The minimalistic approach enhances your appearance. It makes you look as good as possible. You should look as good as possible. You should want to look as good as possible. You should do what the way of the world. Even in the world, they know that people who dress like whores, they dress as prostitutes, they look cheap. It doesn't. They don't look good, and they don't feel good about themselves. Right. The point of dressing good is for yourself, that you feel good, that you look good, and that people are attracted to you. And don't worry about other men being attracted to you or not. That's not. You don't have to worry about that. Men shouldn't worry about other women attracted to them, because this is the way of the world. And people, it's like saying, don't get involved in business because you might end up stealing from people. A lot of people, like the famous story with Chafetz Chaim, he opened up a store at one point. He had to close it down because he had the wrong weights and measures with salt or something like that. He was so afraid. He said it's better not to open a business. You might do Xela. No, Torah wants you to get a job. Torah wants you to be normal, be part of the world. You go ahead and be part of the world, and you might do an Avera too, but that's normal, that's natural. Human beings, we're not meant to be perfect in everything. So you go with the flow of the world. Nikos down illuminated all the flow of the world. The mitzvahs, we don't understand how they're supposed to be enjoyable. We do them now as Allah commands. Hopefully one day we'll understand them. By Nikos down illuminated, the midos, just character traits. You have to go based on what natural way of the world is to accentuate your beauty through clothing. And also in a general sense, we talk about modesty as a midah and other things and making simchas and things like that. You should do it in a way that's classy. It's not overdone. That really just enhances your value, makes you feel valuable, and not that you're just begging for other people's approval. So if you dress a prostitute, you're begging for other people's approval. You're begging for, and you make an overly ostentatious simcha. You're begging your people's approval. You're not valuing yourself. And when you just beg for other people's approval, that devalues yourself. That's what I have to say about this. I hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.